That's a lovely point. And it can be. There's a really great book called Quiet by Susan Cain. She really talks about the power of being an introvert and how you can be that person who didn't speak all meeting, but at the end drops that nugget, sort of just synthesizes everything and says, you know what we've been talking about today? It's this. So it can really work for you. I think sometimes it depends on your level of confidence and your seniority as well. I think there's more than one factor in there. If you're going to every meeting and you never speak, that's not necessarily going to enhance your career. But if you are able to really add those nuggets of wisdom at the right time, absolutely that can be the case. And there are people who are just talking, they're not listening, they're thinking aloud, and just speaking for the sake of it and having nothing really to say can be detrimental. It's hard work, absolutely. I think that those people who just dig themselves up in a meeting and you're thinking, gosh, I've done all that, but I'm not saying anything about it, is really tough. I think we do have a responsibility to perhaps bring it up to someone. If you're seeing that happening in your organization, I would definitely bring it up to people who chair meetings or a line manager and just say, there seems to be loudest voice gets heard. And there are so many different styles, and doesn't mean people don't have something really valuable to contribute. What could we do as a team to make sure everyone's voice is heard? So bring it up to a line manager. If you're managing it, talking about it to others and just showing that everyone's contribution is valuable, and always thinking about that. What's the way we can contribute? Even if it isn't speaking, is it the chat? Is it an email later? Is it a one-to-one conversation? There does seem to be in society a bit of a bias for people who talk, and it doesn't mean they have more to say or contribute. So we do need to make space. What I would say is you want to be authentically you. So you don't want to try and be someone else and have a totally different voice. But I would play with it. If you remember, we had a prime minister called Margaret Thatcher. She had elocution lessons to deepen her voice so men would take her seriously. And a lot of women in senior roles have done that, because the higher pitch, quite often people say, is not so listened to and is not so heard. And there's lots of research about that. But you can play with pitch. You might just lower your voice to the most comfortable level because it gives you more authority, but you also might play with the ups and downs of your voice to make things more interesting. One of the things that goes against women is there's this Americanism that a lot of people do, which is, my name is Jenny, and they kind of end their sentences in a higher pitch, which almost sounds like a question. If it feels like you're making a statement, but it sounds like a question, people start to question you. So there's a lot to think about with your voice, and I would play with it. If you're practicing a presentation particularly, I would play with increasing your tone at some point, lowering your tone at another, having some strategic pauses. And it might make it more interesting for you as well if you're changing your voice a little bit as you deliver the presentation. Really challenging, isn't it? And it depends on who they are. If they're quite senior to you and you start doing that, they might take offense. So it's a really difficult one. Speaking over people can work for you, but it can also cause offense. If it's one-on-one, I probably will wait till they're finished and just say, I'd like to share my thoughts now. If it's in a meeting setting, then they may be speaking over everyone. And perhaps there's something that can be done with someone who's managing the meeting to say afterwards, oh, it's really hard because of how they communicate. However, they might be the most senior person in the room again, so it's really difficult. I think another thing to do might be to send an email afterwards and say, I did have some points I wanted to make, but I wasn't able to in the meeting. I'd like to share these with you now, because that might help them realize that they're not giving other people a chance. Oh, there's so many divides. I can tell you, I was speaking to my daughter this morning, who's Gen Z. I've had so many people say we cannot communicate with Gen Zs. They have different values, morals, communication style. But I also say, when I was talking to my daughter about it, I was saying, and the other way around, because I wonder how tolerant Gen Zs are of the older generation and how they communicate and their expectations. And this intergenerational workplace is bringing a lot of miscommunication. I notice it as well, but I've been speaking to a lot of of people about it. I really think that there's a lot of work to do to try and understand each other better and not misunderstand each other. When someone's giving someone feedback, I've noticed people can take it really personally. I've noticed more from the younger generation. What people are trying to do is trying to help them be better. It's more positive feedback and constructive feedback rather than that. So I think there's a bit of explaining intentions before communication that has to happen more, which is, I'm going to say this to you, my intention is for your good, or my intention is to help. And I think on both sides, whichever generation you're coming from, you might have to explain more the intention for your communication before you communicate. I think that enables you to be heard more. I think we all started getting to shorthand communication. A lot of people are using AI, and now we're getting some immaculate emails, aren't we? It's just like, oh my gosh. I actually think that AI is helping, because I think that some of the way we were communicating was leading to a lot of misinterpretation, maybe offense taken, etc. Because people are using AI to craft it. AI is much more polite and wants to please. So actually what we're getting is some improved communication on that front.
A little bit more polished.
Yes, exactly. That's such a good question. There's something called the McGurk effect. Do Google it. And it's not about dress per se, but what it shows is this person says bar, 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 and then he changes his mouth to f, and he's saying bar still, but he's going f. And people hear far. You actually hear what you see rather than what you actually hear. And it's called the McGurk effect. And there is something about the fact that people are not just listening, they are making judgments with their eyes and interpreting you. I think you should feel confident in what you're wearing and think about the environment that you are stepping into. I think that's important. I do talks for different places, and some places it's more the uniform to wear some trainers with whatever you're wearing. So I'll wear the trainers, and in others it's more about me putting on a pair of heels. So I think it's about knowing who you're talking to. Think about who you're talking to. Who's your audience? What would they expect? But also, what is your brand? I think there are things to consider. What's your brand? What's the environment? What's the situation? But I think what you wear matters. And I think why it matters most to me is because when I feel good in what I'm wearing, I'm more confident. And I think that's the key. Feel confident in what you're wearing. That will ooze outward.